Today I want to tell you the story of Allen Dulles, CIA, and Kennedy. I will go into a deeper dive on the Dulles brothers later regarding their contributions to U.S. For now, it is just this story. Allen Dulles was born into a prominent American family. His grandfather was John Watson Foster, who moved to Washington, D.C. to work first under Ulysses Grant. He was Secretary of State to President Benjamin Harrison. His brother John Foster Dulles was Secretary of State to President Dwight Eisenhower. As World War I began, Allen Dulles was stationed at the U.S. Embassy in Bern, Switzerland. Later he earned a law degree from George Washington University and worked alongside of his brother John Foster Dulles. On December 7, 1941, the bombing of Pearl Harbor by the Japanese facilitated the United States entering World War II. President Theodore Roosevelt contacted William Donovan to head up an intelligence agency, and he became the chief of the bureau. The Office of Strategic Services, or OSS as it was known, was only active during World War II and the precursor to the Central Intelligence Agency. Donovan recruited Allen Dulles into the organization, then sent him off to Bern, Switzerland in late 1942. Collaborating with Germans and their plans, he established a wide network of contacts. It consisted of resistance activists, anti-Nazi intelligence within Germany, and German émigrés. They were gaining valuable intel for the U.S., but Washington forbid Dulles from offering deals to those participating in a plot to assassinate Adolf Hitler. He still was able to get information about the plot. He also participated in Operation Sunrise, which allowed for the surrender of German military in northern Italy. Making a deal with German SS General Karl Wolff created a rift between the USS and the former Soviet Union, now Russia. By executive order, the Office of Strategic Services ceased to exist as of October 1, 1945, along with retiring Agent 110, Allen Dulles. In 1951, CIA Director Walter Bedell Smith recruited Dulles to oversee the agency's covert plans as Deputy Director over Plans. After President Dwight Eisenhower was elected in 1952, Dulles became the first civilian director of the CIA. He would later become the longest in office. All this information is background on Allen Dulles to set the stage for the relationship I really want to talk about, Allen Dulles and President John Kennedy. A Gallup poll in 1963 saw that 52% of the U.S. believed that others participated in the assassination of President Kennedy. In the 1950s, Joseph Kennedy, father of John and Robert Kennedy, served on a commission to examine the activities of the CIA and their dirty tricks. In 1956, President Dwight Eisenhower organized the President's Board of Consultants on Foreign Intelligence Activities. Joseph Kennedy did indeed serve on that committee. He found that the agency had acted in unethical ways regarding the regime change operations in Iran and Guatemala. He thought they were destroying these countries' democracies. Kennedy recommended the CIA's power to engage in covert activities be terminated and that the organization be limited to collecting intelligence and empowered to do nothing else. Allen Dulles never forgot the incident. It was presented as the event where the actual conflict with the CIA and the Kennedys began. Even though popular opinion was that it was with Kennedy's handling of the Bay of Pigs invasion, it at least escalated the animosity. In 1960, President Eisenhower allocated $13.1 million for the CIA. The monies were to be used in efforts against Castro in Cuba. That brings us up to the Cuban Missile Crisis and the CIA. President John Kennedy was elected in November 1960 and promised afterward that the U.S. would not invade Cuba for a regime change against Castro. 1963, he promised an end to the Cold War during a talk at American University. In between were the Bay of Pigs invasion and the Cuban Missile Crisis. Kennedy wanted the U.S. to make peace with the communists. This was treasonous to the CIA. Kennedy challenged the CIA, wanted to end the Cold War entirely, and he did challenge the CIA publicly. Kennedy did go ahead with the plan by the CIA for the Bay of Pigs invasion in 1961, but wanted the U.S. involvement kept secret. They used airships with the logo painted over to look like FAR, Fuerza Aérea Revolucionaria Cuban Air Force. Photos were later released showing the planes being painted with the FAR symbols and outing the U.S. The bombing of airplanes over Cuba failed, but Kennedy went ahead with the land invasion, which also failed. This failure would lead to the Cuban Missile Crisis in 1962. By 1962, CIA Director Allen Dulles, along with his Deputy Director Charles Cabell and Deputy Director for Plans Richard Bissell, were all forced to resign. It was related to the New York Times that Kennedy told a reporter that he wanted to splinter the CIA into 1,000 pieces. Kennedy did not get the chance. Stay tuned for part 2 of this story.